Although there haven't been too many famous figures to grace the town of Springfield, Illinois, there have been a few. The notable one being former U.S. President Abraham Lincoln. However, there also was a figure who lived in Springfield who happened to be inspired by Lincoln, although he was born a few years later. He was a poet named Vachel Lindsay, who has been given the distinction of being a founder of modern singing poetry. This house behind me stands as where he grew up at as a child. Born in November 1879 and growing up in Springfield as a child, his family had the distinct privilege of living across the street from the governor's mansion. Having lived around such affluent places as the mansion, and also being interested in Lincoln's time in Illinois, he incorporated elements of that into his later poetry. However, he didn't immediately turn to poetry. His father, being a practicing doctor, wanted him to study medicine. So he studied medicine at Hiram University in Ohio from 1897 to 1900, and then, finding the curriculum difficult, attended the Art Institute of Chicago from 1900 to 1903, and then finally the New York School of Arts from 1904 to 1905, where he would go on to pursue writing poetry. He started to write poems and he finally made his way back to Springfield in 1908. He started to write poems and deliver lectures around town in the hopes of being paid and noticed, and eventually got publicized by being featured in the Village magazine. He continued to travel to states such as Colorado and New Mexico, keeping his writing and poetry going. As mentioned earlier, Lindsay was strongly influenced by his upbringing, and in 1914 he wrote Abraham Lincoln Walks at Midnight, about a what-if scenario regarding Lincoln waking up from death due to the bloodshed of World War I and roaming the streets of Springfield, Illinois. In 1914, he had what is considered his crowning achievement as an author by literary scholars, titled The Congo. His stories were praised for highlighting the common man and lower middle class groups that the reader could relate to, which was a strong contrast to what the audiences expected at the time. The next year, in 1915, he gained notoriety for publishing a book called The Art of the Moving Picture, which detailed the topic of film as an art form, even receiving praise from director D.W. Griffith, who was quite possibly the most popular director of the 1910s. After coming off a high that lasted many years, by the time of the 1920s his popularity had waned due to personal problems such as his mother passing in 1923 and the landscape of literature changing, leaving his stories as considered relics of the past. In 1925 he attempted to regain his footing and he got married and had two children. It posed a problem, however, as he struggled to earn enough money to support the family and started to sink into a deep depression. On December 5, 1931, at the age of 52, he passed away by committing suicide by drinking a bottle of lye, which is a hydroxide solution often used in the making of soaps and cleaning products, and passed away. Despite his sad ending, in the years since, his works have been regarded as among the most influential when discussing classical literature and is viewed as an early pioneer of storytelling and poetry. He also left behind a historical impression on Springfield, which also stands not just an early reminder of his roots, but also Springfield's.